Hello, my name is Maribel Robles, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my journey to becoming a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I want to focus this video to the younger audience, teenagers who are in high school thinking about their college options or just career options, because we often get this idea that we have to know exactly what we're going to do. And in this video, you'll see clearly that it's not like a straightforward answer, and you have to give yourself permission to like explore your interests to get to where you want to be. So if that's something you're interested in, please stick around and watch this full video. So I hope this video is relatable to all the teens and young adults that have done very well in school and consider themselves pretty good at everything, and then you're like stuck with the question of what do I want to do? So that's something that resonates with me because that's how hard it was for me to choose something, because I was always getting the good grades and I struggled to like really focus on what I was truly passionate about. And little side note, that has to do a lot with other things that I discovered later on in my life. So if you're interested in hearing more about that, please do let me know below so that I can make another video, because if not, this one would turn into like a whole life story. But staying here on track. So in high school, I was getting really good grades in all my classes, and when it was time to choose like a career, when anybody would ask me like, what do you want to do, I wasn't so sure. But one of my like hobbies, things that I did when I wasn't trying to get good grades, was to watch like criminal series shows or those shows about haunted houses. So all the like supernatural stuff really like drew to me. And I went into college with the idea that I was going to major in sciences, or specifically like I was on the medical track field at my college, because I wanted to be like a forensic scientist. Like that was my way of like helping to solve crimes. That's what I wanted to do. But my freshman year and sophomore year of college, I was given the track, and it was a lot of science classes, a lot of math classes, and I went from being a straight A student to barely passing some of my college classes. And I also discovered like, okay, this is really like not working out for me, because I did not pass calculus in college. And I also discovered that I did not want to be in the lab. My biology class, I think I took like 2 biology classes and a chemistry class before I was like, I don't see myself being in a lab all the time, or like working with like dead bodies and like having to deal with the smells and all of those things. So I was like, never mind. It was time to talk to my counselor. And at that point, I had been taking some classes in psychology, and I believe I had already taken like intro to education. So then I kind of moved on to like my other calling that I felt I had since I was a child, which was to educate. And I really, really like fell in love with the field of education. The next 2.5 years of my college experience were pretty awesome, because I was learning a lot about the education system, about taking classes, and I was like, wow, this is really what I'm gonna do. So my senior year, I ended up taking my student study program, I believe. And I was going into the city of Philadelphia to teach at a charter school, or to be trained, because I wasn't fully teaching. Like part of the experience was to like be the teacher for 2 weeks, but that was like near the end of the program. And it was during that experience that I quickly realized that my body did not do so good managing a class of like 30 some students while having to manage like their special needs. I think we had like 9 students in the class who had IEPs. Some of them were like for behavioral reasons, others for like neurodivergent reasons, and it was a lot to manage. Plus, me quickly realizing that teachers were not given extra time during the day to prepare lesson plans, to grade papers. Like the teacher that I followed, she was amazing, and I mean, they get like 30-minute lunches, and half of that time is spent like answering emails or like prepping for the next session, the next activity, or grading some paper or preparing something for the next day. So I I guess we can say I felt really like overwhelmed. I realized like I don't really see myself doing this. But I didn't quite yet make the decision. So that was back in 2009. Then I graduated college, and then I was moving back from Pennsylvania to California, and this was like not the beginning but like the early years of the recession, and LA Unified School District was letting go of all their not all their teachers but a lot of teachers. And I spoke to them because I wanted to see how could I transfer my license over, and they told me I needed to take some extra classes and I needed to take an exam. I think it was like the CBEST, and that was gonna cost me like another like $300 to $600, which at the time I did not have, because here I was, recent grad student that had not really worked. I mean, I had like a small job while I was in college, but I didn't have any savings, so I couldn't say that like I had money at that point. And they were very straightforward with me over the phone, and they said like the chances of getting hired at this time are very, very small, because if anything, we're still letting go of people. And that pushed me into starting to look for jobs in anything. And my first job ended up being at a Toys R Us store during like the peak season. So I was a seasonal employee during the months of November and December. And I believe, I want to say that was 2009. And I think I only worked there like for those couple of months, and then I got hired as a program leader at a after school program. And so I kind of stuck around the area of education, and I hung out there for like 2 years. And it was there that I started becoming like more interested in like working with the small groups. So I was often getting called in because our like program director, she only spoke English, and the school was in Azusa, very like diverse community. We had like a lot of Latino kids whose parents only spoke Spanish, and sometimes the director was like calling me over so that I can help her translate when she had messages for the parents. Often and most of the time, these were like situations where the student had gotten into some kind of trouble, so I was like communicating that to the parents. And it was also while I was working at that job that we had like something in my immediate family. It was also during that time that we had something in my immediate family where my mom got called to the school office, and she took me with her because she felt she was going to need a translator. So here I was, and we ended up going to the school, and that was like a little nudge, because the meetings that we had there, there was a counselor involved, and she like probably noticed something, and she told me that I should consider like the field of counseling. And at that point, I was already considering it because like I said, I like teaching, I like working with people, I like helping people. And I guess I felt that I could do that um, a lot easier if it was like on a one-on-one or like working with a small group. Oh, plus I forgot to mention like having to work every day, keeping in mind like all the state standards, their objectives, like there was benchmark testing every so often. Like there was just like that whole added stress of like what you were expected to teach and why. So I didn't feel like in the school setting I was gonna have like as much freedom. And then here was a counselor telling me like, oh yeah, we get to like talk about things that are applicable to life. And I was like, yeah, that's so much more interesting to me. So problem solving skills, like speaking skills, all these different things like our emotional intelligence or how our like nervous system like works, all of those things are so much more interesting for me to like spend hours and hours and hours talking about. So here I was now, this was like 2011 or 2012, and I definitely started looking for schools, and I ended up getting accepted into Mount St. Mary's College, now university, in downtown LA area. And my master's program was on counseling psychology. I will say that when I was considering that school, I was still debating between like a master's in like the educational field, like special education or bilingual education, but I ended up going the counseling route just because of like this idea of not really wanting to work in the school setting. I guess that's probably what like really like pulled me away from it. And I can say from that point on, I have felt very confident about staying in the field of counseling psychology, maybe up until like 2021, where I started to like get really drained out. And it was like a decision of whether I was going to continue practicing counseling psychology regulated by the California Board of Behavioral Sciences, which places like a lot of restrictions, or whether I was going to jump into more of like a coaching slash mentoring slash educator business. And so I ended up deciding that I still really love the field of counseling psychology. And yes, our systems can be challenging because of all the regulations, but I hope to continue working with people individually in like a clinically um, professional setting. But I have also decided that I want to be able to reach more people, and that is why I have launched the site of Hijas Bellas. So that is my one of my businesses. So right now I'm still deciding on the name for my private practice, which will be small. I don't plan on working with more than 10 families at a time. And um, that's mostly going to be online work. And then with Hijas Bellas, I can work with multiple families by giving workshops, in the future retreats, and just providing like free psychoeducation through the sites of Hijas Bellas. So if you're watching this, you are on my YouTube channel, and this is the official house of Hijas Bellas, where we talk about things mental health related, mother-daughter related, and women related. So I really want to focus on helping the mother-daughter relationship be more strong, through the lens of the things I've learned as a psychotherapist, which so at Hijas Bellas, we will be focusing on the mother-daughter relationship, why it's important to connect to our ancestral roots and how we can heal our ancestral roots. This comes from like multiple passions that I've been working on throughout like my lifespan without even knowing. Like I know I started like being interested in my own genealogy since I was like a teenager. But it wasn't until the pandemic hit that I actually took like a really deep dive, and ever since I've been like collecting information about my ancestors. So Arijas Bellas want to like really like focus on that. In my private practice, I will continue to see teenagers, parents, specifically moms, and work with the mother daughters together. So really want to help like the moms and the daughters have like a healthier relationship, because I speak from my experience, being born in the United States and my mother was born in Mexico. We have like totally different world visions, right? And that I'm sure that a lot of people feel that way. And then that really like pulls families apart. Like as a therapist, what I saw was a lot of just like closing the door to staying in communication. So being able to like challenge that and helping families to like reunite and learn how to communicate with each other so that it doesn't feel like it's such a struggle. Because yes, like the world is already like going through a lot, and you know, if we could just have like a friendlier, more respect in the home amongst everybody, then I think that makes a huge difference in helping us like manage what's going on outside the home. So I don't know if that helps. My intention was to point out how like throughout the years my vision and like was my career vision was constantly changing and evolving. So please take away that you don't have to have a solid decision. Like if you know, you know, that's great. That's what I thought that I knew, but I gave myself permission to like change my mind, and that's what I want you to take away. Like explore things, and I'll throw in there as a little tip, like stick to your passions, like know what your callings are. So as an quick example, one of my current passions that I am diving more deeply into, another one, is photography. So I knew since I was in elementary school that I wanted to work with photographs, and back then it used to be that idea of like having the studio and working like in the dark, and like suddenly you have this image of that picture that you took. Photography doesn't really work that way anymore, but I still love the idea of like capturing things and holding that moment like in a physical format. So that is something else that I'm diving into, and you'll see some of that work as well in Hijas Bellas. And so I'll just wrap up with that. Explore your passions, see how they can be turned into a successful business. And by successful, I don't mean like financially lucrative. That's great. But is it something that makes you like motivated to get up and to be able to give out to the world? So I hope you enjoyed the video, and leave me a comment about what journey you're in and if you see yourself doing that for the coming years.